Today, we are digging into a story that's about 2,300 years old, from an ancient Chinese text called the Zhuangzi. Now, on the surface, it's a simple little fable about a giant bird and a tiny quail. But if you stick with me, you'll see it holds this really powerful lesson about how we see our own limits and the true scale of our own ambitions. All right, let's just dive right in. Our story starts in this mythical North Sea with a creature that is, well, it's almost impossible to imagine. Meet the Peng. I mean, seriously, just try to get your head around that. A bird whose back is an entire mountain, whose wings, when they stretch out, they're like clouds that just blot out the sun. This isn't just some big bird. This thing is a living, breathing piece of the landscape. And get this, when this bird decides to fly, it doesn't just, take off. It beats its wings and kicks up a whirlwind that lifts it 90,000 li straight into the air. Now, that's an ancient measurement, but just think of it as a journey so high, it literally punches through the clouds. It rides the very blue of the sky itself, heading for the distant southern sea. It's an absolutely epic journey. But not everyone's impressed. Down in the weeds, another little creature is watching all of this. And its reaction is definitely not what you'd expect. The quail just laughs. It sees this incredible, world-changing event, and it scoffs. It's such a strange reaction, right? It's not awe, it's not jealousy, it's pure mockery. And that little laugh is the real key to this entire explainer. I mean, just look at this contrast. The Peng's journey is this massive migration, soaring 90,000 li to a far-off sea. The quail, it hops a few feet to get to the next bush. The Peng sees the world from above the clouds. The quail lives its whole life flitting among the weeds. The difference between their realities, it isn't just big, it's absolute. So why the laugh? It's not just that the quail is ignorant. The quail literally can't comprehend the Peng's journey because, from its tiny, self-contained world, a trip like that just seems ridiculous, pointless. It has its own idea of what flight is for, and it's perfectly happy right where it is. Now, to really understand why the quail's point of view is so important, we have to zoom out and look at the bigger question this whole story is wrestling with. It's actually framed by a conversation between a legendary king and a wise old sage. That's a pretty heavy question, right? Does the world have an edge? Is there some final wall at the end of everything? The king wants to know if there's an ultimate boundary to reality itself. The sage doesn't give a straight yes or no. He hits him with this paradox that's a total mind-bender. He's basically saying that our very idea of limitless is itself a kind of limit, and that there's always something more beyond that. He's trying to break the king's and our basic assumptions about how things work. So this riddle, it's the lens. It's how we're supposed to look at the Peng and the quail again. The story isn't just about big versus small. It's about how we draw these lines in our own minds and how we decide what's possible and what's not. Okay, this is where it gets really good. To prove his point, the sage does something brilliant. He retells the story of the Peng, but he changes one tiny, almost unnoticeable detail. Okay, pay close attention to this, because it's the aha moment. In the first telling, the Peng goes from an earthly sea up to a heavenly pool. It's a classic story of rising up, of transcendence. But in the sage's version, the starting point, the northern sea, is also called a heavenly pool. And that one little change, it changes everything. Suddenly, the journey isn't this miraculous leap from a lower world to a higher one. It's just a really, really long trip between two places that are already on the same level. The sage demystifies the whole thing. The flight is still incredible, but it's not a supernatural miracle anymore. It's just a journey. This reframing brings us right to the heart of the matter, to a core philosophical idea that people call the debate of the small and the great. This is the big idea, called xiao bian in Chinese. It's the profound realization that our judgments about what's great and what's small are always relative. They depend on us. For the quail, its world of bushes is a complete universe. For the Peng, the entire sky is its road. Neither one is objectively better. They just operate on completely different scales with different purposes. Then the text brings us right down to the human level. It talks about an official whose skill is based on knowledge. He's perfect for running his one little office. Then you have a governor whose skill is based on action, which is suited for managing a whole region. And finally, a ruler whose competence comes from virtue, which lets him lead an entire nation. Each one has a different but perfectly fitting skill. And here's the question that really challenges us. We instinctively want to see this as a ladder, right? With the ruler being greater than the official. But what if it's more like the Peng and the Quail? What if each person has their own world, their own sky, that their skills are perfectly matched to? Maybe the skills of a great administrator are just different from, not less than, the skills of a great ruler. And this, right here, is where this 2,000-year-old story loops all the way back to us. Because this isn't just philosophy. This is about how we see ourselves, right here, right now. This is the line that just pulls it all together. The way these different people, the official, the governor, the ruler, see themselves, the scope of their world, how they define success, it's just like the quail or the Peng. It's all defined from the inside out. So this is the big takeaway. Every single character in this story, the cosmic bird, the tiny quail, the local official, they all live inside a reality that is built by their own perception of what is possible. They aren't living under one single sky. They are each living under the sky that they carry around inside their own head. And that really leaves us with a final question to think about. We all live under the same physical sky, but this story suggests we each create our own. Are you the quail, perfectly happy and fulfilled in your world? Or are you the Peng, driven by a vision so big that other people might just laugh at it? There's no right answer, but maybe, just maybe, understanding the size and the shape of the sky you've built for yourself is the most important thing you can